Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon. Thank you for joining us. We have a fun show coming up, and my guest is Meghan Mundy, who is a fashion therapist and the founder of Fashion Week of Rochester. So, Meghan, welcome to our show.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I
I'm
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I'm a fan of yours. So, first, tell us about being a fashion therapist. I have not heard that before, and I think I might need one.
Oh, perfect. Well, okay, so my background was in fashion always, and I've loved fashion since I was a very young girl. And one of the stories that I love to tell is when I was in third grade, I had to go to private school because I had learning disabilities. And I didn't cry about leaving my friends. I cried because I had to wear a uniform. I was into fashion in third grade. So that was sort of the beginning of my journey. And I started working on Madison Avenue in a very high end clothing boutique. And I would go into my clients' houses and I would go and then go into their closet and I would go through their closet and help them put things together. And then I would list things that they needed that were missing. And I would go back to the store that I worked on Madison Avenue and pull that from the inventory. So it was a great combination of helping someone, but also I worked on commission. So it was a really nice situation. So then when I moved to Rochester, I needed to reinvent myself. And I started doing the same thing here in Rochester and going into people's closets. I had two young children. And what I learned from my experience on Madison Avenue is that clothing was almost like armor. And if you put something on and you feel good and you're going into that meeting, it makes you feel stronger and it makes you feel put together and it gives you that little extra pep in your step. So that's how I got started in fashion therapy is, finding the needs that people had and teaching them how to put their clothes together. And that's my creative outlet. So it's just something that I love doing. And I love when I'm in someone's closet and they'll say, gosh, I would never think to put that together, but I love it. And then if I talk to my client, I say, well, when you were in the working world, what did you do as a business? And I remember this one woman saying, well, I was a bio physicist. And I'm like, okay, well, so that gives me hives because I could never do that. And that's your talent. So it's just a great way to share my talent and help people feel better about themselves.
That's great. Do people cry when you tell them that this outfit doesn't really belong to you in your wardrobe?
When you mean,
Like
in
if
their
someone has
closet?
purchased an outfit that or a clothes that don't belong. I mean, surely
Oh, well,
people
so
have done
yeah,
that.
I mean, people will show me things and they'll say, I love this on the mannequin. And then what I can do for them and say, well, let put it on for me and let's take a look at it. And the reason you don't like it is because we need to shorten the hem a half an inch. Let's take the shoulder pads out. So sometimes it could have been a bad purchase, but we can turn it into a good purchase. But then there are those ones where you just have to say, I think we need to retire this. It's just never going to work.
That's a good way to put it, retire.
Yes, yes.
That's great. So in our community, are people, Rochester has been labeled as a conservative, the way people dress conservatively. Do you find that to have changed over the years, or is it still the same?
I feel like it has changed drastically. I mean, I've been doing this. I moved here 23 years ago. So I remember being in someone's closet and going through their closet and saying, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful dress. Where would you wear this? And they say, oh, I'd never wear this in Rochester. I would only wear it in Las Vegas. And that is actually sort of how I decided to start Fashion Week because I thought, I want to create an event where people will wear that dress that they would only wear in Vegas. And since then, I've seen a lot of change. People are, everybody loves an opportunity to dress up. So I definitely feel like Rochester is moving into and has moved into a more fashion forward state of mind.
So talk to us about Fashion Week of Rochester. How did you start it, and how did you choose Center for Youth to partner in terms of Fashion Week?
So when I moved here, and I'd been here about 5 years, and I was doing my closet consulting, I read about Toronto Fashion Week. And at the time, I was working for a magazine called Her Magazine. I was a stylist for them. And I told them about it. And I said, I want to go up and see what's going on up in Toronto. So I researched it and I went up to Toronto. And what I loved about it, I had a press pass. I was so excited. And I got to go in the back room and the VIP parties. And that was really fun. But what I also loved, and mostly what I loved, is that they also had a $20 ticket that anybody could go. And I was so impressed with this that it was inclusive and not exclusive, because any other fashion week that I always would see on the fashion TV and things like that, it was for high net worth people and socialites. So I came back to Rochester and I thought, this is something we could do here. This community is prime for this. And I connected with Shantiza Stern, who was an event planner, and together we set off on this journey. And we wanted it to have a charitable arm to it. So we reached out to the Center for Youth, and that's how I met Elaine. And she and the center, we sort of morphed into partners, because then Shantiza's business took off and she sort of bowed out. And then it was just Elaine and I, and now she is my partner and dear friend, and we adore each other, and I love the charity. And at the time I had teenagers, and so it felt good to me. The charity was a charity for homeless teens, and it just felt so right. So that's how it all came together.
So tell me about the inner workings of Fashion Week. Some of our viewers may have been at Fashion Week in some of the years, or been at a show or heard about it. First, how do you select the organizations or the boutiques or designers that become part of the show? Because it runs for several days, right?
Yes. So this year we'll have a 4-day event at the Dome, which we're super excited about. But I've always my philosophy is just go out and walk around and see what's out in your community, and go to events, and go to the public market, go to these little craft fairs. And I always seem to meet someone new and interesting. And I have the regulars that have been with me from the very start: Panache and Paisley and Silk and Jovel's. But then I have these great new designers. I have a lot of new street fashion designers. I went to the Lucky Flea a couple weekends ago, and in my mind, as I'm walking through the Lucky Flea, this whole concept came together. We're going to do an upcycle show. I found a guy that does these amazing antique bikes, and we're going to combine it with another young person that has all these great vintage pieces. So it's really just about going out in the community and seeing what's out there. And that's how I choose people. And people come to me and reach out to me. And usually my shows fill up pretty quickly. So I try to have a nice mix of all different kinds of looks. And I've even had like international, my sister used to live in South Africa, so I had friends that I'd met over there that would come over and show their collection. So it's just about being out in the community and the world, and keeping my eyes open.
That's great. One time I had a chance to talk with someone who was a designer from New York, and had said, this is really a great show in Rochester. It's a lot more exciting in the way the audience responds to the fashions that are being shown. Do you hear that often?
I do. And I bet I know which designer that was. I remember he came up, Carmen Mark Volvo, because he's a very big, well-known designer, and he was brought in by someone that lives in our community. And I remember him saying, this is better than New York Fashion Week. And that to me was the ultimate compliment. And I do hear that. I think it's in the way that we involve the community, and all my models are local. I choose all shapes and sizes. I love to put young kids on the runway, because then that brings aunts and grandparents and godparents, and they get so much joy and seeing their children be a part of this event. And I love to tell the kids also, when I'm giving my little welcome speech in the back tent, that they are helping homeless children in our community. So it is definitely a different concept, but it just gives me so much joy. And when we were on pause for the pandemic, I really I felt so sad not to have that creative outlet in my life, because I missed hugging all the people, and I missed everybody arriving in the tent and being so excited to be there. And so it is definitely not your traditional, sort of stone face walking models. It's people are smiling and laughing and local talent. And I think that's what makes us different and special.
That's great. And you do two shows for Center for Youth, right? One in the summer and one in the fall.
Yes, so we just had our tailgate fashion show, which we invented last year because of the pandemic, we couldn't do the show, and I just had this idea: let's sell tailgate spaces. Let's have it be like it's a Buffalo Bills tailgate, but better outfits. So we set up a 250-foot long runway in the parking lot at Midtown, which Midtown has been just so incredibly generous to us, with lending us that space. I call it the magic parking lot because it's been so good to us. And we sold out the first show in one day, and then this year I added a second day, and it's just a totally different concept. People bring lounge chairs, and it's a bring your own everything. People bring cornhole, and there's a real casual feeling about it, but it just felt so good to do that show. And then the fall show is always our big sort of blowout. We have a Wednesday show this year, which is called World Fashion. And I felt like, because we were in this worldwide pandemic, let's celebrate fashions from all over the world. So I have fashions from India, China, I have Mexican fashions, and with each of those shows will be a little bit of talent and a little bit of music from those places. And then we have a Thursday show, which is our edgy show, which involves drag queens and RIT. Our Friday show includes the whole community, businessmen in the community, lots of families and kids. And then, of course, Saturday is always our grand finale, where we just put it all out there and have a big final celebration of all the amazing talent in our community.
What's up ahead for Fashion Week, you think, of Rochester?
So our dates are October 12th through the 16th. And on the 12th, at the Dome. We will have a promenade of shops on the 12th. That's so that some of the local boutiques can make up some lost income from what they might not have sold during the pandemic. The 13th, we have our World Fashion Show. And then we have Thursday, the Edgy Show. Friday, our Rochester show. And then Saturday is our big show. Tickets go on sale on Eventbrite after Labor Day. And we are excited to be at the Dome. There'll be plenty of seats and tons of ability to social distance if need be. And we want to keep our event safe, but still fun, and bring the community together as we always do. And they have this amazing air quality system that turns over the air every 10 minutes. So we feel safe. People in the back room, I am requiring to show proof of vaccine, because the back room in the tent gets very crowded, and everybody is just happy to do it and happy to be there. So that really warms my heart.
Thank you. Thank you, Meghan Mundy. I wish we had more time, but I am grateful for sharing with us what a fashion therapist does. Thank you for sharing, and also talking about the beloved Fashion Week of Rochester. And thank you for all you've done in that regard, especially for the Center for Youth. All the best to you.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. And thank you, our guests, for joining us today. I'm Nannette Nocon. Until next time.